And away we go, episode 1291 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Monday, March 30th, 2026. It is day 2 of the NFL's annual league meeting. This year's annual league meeting is taking place in Phoenix from Sunday, March 29th through Wednesday, April 1st. And we, over the course of the next 3 days, perhaps as soon as Monday, are anticipating hearing from 3 power brokers for the Washington Commanders via sessions with reporters, managing partner Josh Harris, general manager Adam Peters, and head coach Dan Quinn. Josh, Adam, and Dan, the expectation is that each guy will be speaking at some point in some way. You know, I on Saturday afternoon got a text message from my good friend, Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack, asking me for suggestions, for questions for Harris, Peters, and Quinn. Among my suggestions was asking Harris about the issue of the brand, everybody's favorite topic. But no, the brand is back in the news, given that the team this past Thursday afternoon on X put out that video announcing that the team on April 15th will be announcing, quote, new uniforms, end quote. I hope that Harris gets asked a lot of football questions, but also plenty of questions about the issue of the brand. It's an issue that a lot of fans care about, myself included. But for sure, a lot of football topics about which Harris, Peters, and Quinn should and hopefully will be asked. Hello and welcome to this Monday installment of the Al Galdi podcast, which follows Washington, D.C. area sports so that you don't have to. This also is a podcast in which we talk Washington Commanders on every episode, no matter the time of year. Does Washington now have a stud edge defender in Odafe Oweh, who the team on March 14th announced it's having signed as a Los Angeles Chargers unrestricted free agent? Next segment, excellent insight on Oweh. I also speak with Steven Haglund, co-host of the Guilty as Charged podcast, which is a very successful Chargers podcast. Also, Steven will tell us about why the Chargers are thrilled to have signed center Tyler Biadasz as an unrestricted free agent just 3 days after Washington released him this past March 3rd. And Steven will give us perspective on the Chargers' new offensive coordinator, former Redskins offensive assistant Mike McDaniel. And also on the show, we'll talk Washington Capitals, Washington Wizards, Washington Nationals, and Baltimore Orioles. The Caps, they in their lone game over the weekend pulled off a wild win as their faint postseason hopes remain. A 5-4 shootout win at the Vegas Golden Knights late night on Saturday night in a game in which the Caps blew a 3-0 second period lead but overcame a 4-3 third period deficit. The Caps now are 6-2-2 over their last 10 games. Our rebuilding and tanking Wizards, they continued to tank in fine fashion. Late night on Friday night, a 131-126 loss at the Golden State Warriors in a game in which Wizards head coach Brian Keefe did not play 4 of the Wizards' 5 starters at all in the fourth quarter of what was a competitive game. Sunday evening, a non-competitive 123-88 loss at the Portland Trail Blazers as our Wizards continue to put on a clinic in how to tank. And the Nats and Does, each team won 2 out of 3 games in its 2026 regular season opening series. The Nats won 2 out of 3 games at the Chicago Cubs. The O's won 2 out of 3 games against the Minnesota Twins at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Lots to discuss with each series, and I'll react to the big Orioles news on Friday evening, them announcing having agreed with starting pitcher Shane Baz on a 5-year contract for the 2026 through 2030 seasons. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Email from Rick Proctor on what Washington should do with its number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL draft. Writes Rick, I believe that quarterback, left tackle, and cornerback are the 3 most valuable dollar-for-dollar positions on any NFL team. Pick 7 to the Skins should be Mansour Delane, cornerback, LSU. Al, as you know, and the Grand Poobahs don't. The sign of intelligence is not taking something simple and making it complex. No, the sign of intelligence is taking something complex and making it simple. Let Adam cook. Simple. Thank you for the email, Rick. We on the podcast have not talked much about LSU cornerback Mansour Delane as an option for Washington at 7, but he absolutely is an option for our team at 7. Mansour Delane this past February 27th at the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis measured as being 5'11 and 3/4 of an inch and 187 pounds, and he had LSU's Pro Day last Monday, March 23rd, ran a blazing 4.35 second 40-yard dash. Mansour Delane is a local. He went went to Archbishop Spalding High School in Severn, Maryland, played for Virginia Tech for the 2022 through 2024 seasons, then transferred to LSU for the 2025 season. If Washington can't trade down from 7 and Mansour Delane is the best player on the team's draft board when the pick comes up, then take him. Cornerback is a premium position. Delane is widely viewed as the CB1 in the draft. I'd have no problem with Washington taking Mansour Delane. Here were Steve Palazzolo and Sam Munson on their Check the Mic podcast in an installment that came out on March 21st, talking Mansour Delane.
I think it's fairly clear that Delane is the number one corner in this class. I thought his tape was really, really good. Now, as you said, you already highlighted one element of his profile career is last year was spectacular. Before that, less so. I'm not saying it was bad, but it's 1 year of like spectacular play.
Right. He was good at Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
He was coveted in the transfer portal.
Right.
He made a lot of money to go to LSU. Mm-hmm. But he, from week 1 in the Clemson game, immediately looked like the best corner in the nation and never really came off that.
Last
so that's
year,
the career flow. Genuine
shutdown play. Like he allowed a passer rating of 31 last year, which is, 8 points lower than just dirting the ball every time. His career passer rating is like 69, 70 or whatever. So, big difference. Didn't have a penalty last year, right? Played insane coverage, did not get penalized. Didn't allow a touchdown last year. I mean, you're talking like last year was, 09 Darrelle Revis, like peak, just shut down play. Now, again, the problem is his entire career didn't look like that. It was 1 year. The rest of his career is good, not out of its mind spectacular. But just focusing on last year's tape for a second, it's almost flawless. Like incredibly patient corner, mirrors really easily, just waits for receivers to do their thing and then goes with them. It's never a problem. Incredibly smooth mover. He can play a variety of different techniques. He can be up at the line. He can play bail. He can play off coverage. It's all good. He's also got the feel for zone. He makes plays on other people's targets all the time, dropping off his area, seeing where the quarterback's going to go, making a break on the ball. Got really good click and close once he decides to go on it. Incredibly sticky. Once he's in phase and attached, you're not getting rid of him. I loved his tape. I thought he's really, really top-tier corner.
Yeah, a lot to like with Mansour Delane. Mansour Delane, just the 14th unanimous All-American selection in LSU football history and the first at cornerback since Greedy Williams in 2018. Hey, thank you to all of you who have given this podcast a 5-star rating and to have written nice reviews of the podcast. You on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify can both rate the podcast and write reviews. 5-star ratings are very much appreciated. Positive reviews are very much appreciated. The Washington Commanders for the NFL's 2026 offseason per overthecap.com are number 4 in the NFL in free agency spending at $252.94 million. But the team in free agency this offseason has given out just one big money contract. That for Los Angeles Chargers, unrestricted free agent edge defender Odafe Oweh. Washington on March 14th, what was day 4 of the NFL's 2026-2027 league year, announced having signed Oweh. The contract per overthecap.com and spottrack.com is a 4-year, $96 million deal with $50.6 million fully guaranteed at signing. The 2026 season will be Oweh's age 28 season. He did not start playing football until he was 16. He over 3 seasons, 2018 through 2020 at Penn State, totaled just 7 sacks over 409 pass rushing snaps per Pro Football Focus. He had his 2020 season had 0 sacks, but Oweh, for what he did in the pre-draft process for the 2021 NFL Draft, scored a 9.92 out of a possible 10 in Kentley Platty's relative athletic score metric. This ranked number 12 out of 1,371 defensive end prospects from 1987 through 2021. Oweh at Penn State's Pro Day in March 2021 ran either a 4.36 second or a 4.37 second 40-yard dash, depending on what you use as a reference. He was taken by the Baltimore Ravens with the number 31 overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, played for the Ravens for the 2021 to 2025 seasons, and then was traded by the Ravens to the Los Angeles Chargers this past October 7th. And Oweh was really good for the Chargers. He over 12 games with the team in the 2025 regular season totaled 7.5 sacks, and per the NFL's Next Gen Stats, generated the 6th highest pressure rate in the NFL among players each with at least 200 pass rushes at 17.3%. Also, Oweh and the Chargers, the 16-3 loss at the New England Patriots this past January 11th in the wild card round of the playoffs, had 3 sacks, including 2 sack strips, in playing on just 39% of the Chargers' defensive snaps. Oweh, for the 2025 regular season, was number 10 among all qualified edge defenders in the NFL in ESPN's pass rush win rate at 16.67%. Does Washington and Odafe Oweh have a high-level edge defender? I'm very pleased to welcome back to the Al Galdi podcast Steven Haglund, co-host of the Guilty as Charged podcast, which is a Chargers podcast that has nearly 16,000 subscribers on YouTube. You could follow Steven on X at Steven I. Haglund. Hey, Steven, how are you?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here. We were talking briefly beforehand, essentially Chargers trading Tyler Biadasz for Odafe Oweh, I guess, is kind of where we're at. We're kind of handling it this way in a sort of way.
Later in our conversation, we'll be asking you about Tyler Biadasz, trust me. But Odafe Oweh, the stats say that he was really good for the Chargers during his time with them. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, I definitely feel that way. The Chargers were in a really tough spot around the trade deadline from their edge rusher room because Kulimak was dealing with this dislocated elbow injury, and they were hoping for the rookie they picked, Kyle Kennard, to come in and make an instant impact. And they had Bud Dupree as kind of like your run defending veteran backup, and those things didn't really pan out. So Kulimak goes down with injury, and Tuli Tuipulotu, their most productive edge rusher, was just getting a lot of attention. And so they needed somebody who could come in and fill the void while Kulimak recovered, while also kind of complementing that room. And Odafe Oweh came in was really the perfect skill set because Tuli and Khalil are very power-based rushers. And so Oweh's speed really just gave them a changeup that they did not have prior to doing that. From an analytical perspective, they loved getting those 3 pass rushers on the field at the same time after Matt got healthy. And when they were on the field all together, they produced a pressure rate at a 51% clip. Like, it was the most effective pass rushing trio in the league by like 10 full percentage points. So it was extremely impactful. And then obviously he put the cherry on top with the playoff game where he had 3 sacks, and he was potentially like the best player on the field for them that day. So we think very fondly of Odafe Oweh. If you ask a Ravens fan, at this time last year, they probably don't feel that same way. But Oweh was great for the Chargers, and we will miss him very dearly, I think.
What especially stands out about what Odafe Oweh did in that loss at the Pats this past postseason is that he did what he did despite playing on just 39% of the Chargers' defensive snaps. And I was looking at this. He, over his 13 regular season and postseason games with the Chargers, played on more than 50% of their defensive snaps just 4 times. Was this a case of less is more?
It was definitely less is more, and we can talk about some of the kind of concerns about Odafe Oweh if you want. But Tuli and Khalil Mack were their 2 starters. They are their best run defending edge rushers, best pure edge rushers. And the Chargers with Jesse Minter and Jim Harbaugh have a very particular type of profile where you've got to defend the run first. You've got to be big, physical, and then rush the passer after that. And that's kind of what they preached from the jump. And so Tuli and Khalil are to me 2 of the best run defending edges in the league. And then they also are very productive pass rushers. So that's really the biggest thing, is that Oweh was not as trusted on rundowns, and I think you see that just with the general snap counts.
What are the concerns with Odafe Oweh?
Yeah, I think the one thing from Ravens fans that we always got was that, he's a horrible run defender. He doesn't try that hard. And when I went and watched his tape after they traded for him, I was like, okay, like there's some stuff here. Like he tries hard, but he's just not super dense at the point of attack. And I think he does really like put his best foot forward there, but he's not the guy you want truly being your best run defender. I think if he is your second or third best run defending edge rusher, you should be okay. And he had a good amount of run stops with the Chargers, but a lot of it was like kind of backside chase downs. So as long as you can not have him be on the front side of runs, like really setting the edge, I think you'll be all right. But he's just not a super strong player at the point of attack. He can, make some blockers miss and kind of bend under them, and he'll make some run stops, but he is not like in the purest sense of the world, going to truly like set an edge and set the line of scrimmage, on that side, on the strong side of runs.
Odafe Oweh over his first 3 NFL regular seasons, 2021 through 2023, total just 13 sacks, but he over his last 2 NFL regular seasons, 2024 and 2025, has totaled 17 and a half sacks. Given that he didn't start playing football until he was 16, and given that he's a freak athlete, and given that the sack production has only started to pick up over these last 2 seasons, do you view him as a guy who can still get to another level, even though he is entering his age 28 season?
I think as a pass rusher, there's a lot more upside. I think he has, continued to evolve as a pass rusher. And for the Chargers, we saw a cross chop or an inside spin way more often than Ravens fans kind of alluded to when the trade was happened. And so from a technicality standpoint, I think he can still continue to work on that. And his go-to is obviously going to be the speed and speed to power, but he's got some really nice counters to his game. And I don't know how much the Commanders are going to ask him to do this, but the Chargers, with how much simulated pressures they ran with Jesse Minter, they would actually drop him into coverage a couple times a game. And in that playoff game, he got a pass breakup while covering Travion Henderson. And Travion Henderson is like not exactly a slow running back. He's very, very fast, very gifted as a pass catcher. So there's a lot to like in terms of his athletic profile. And you see his freakish athletic frame all over the place on Chargers tape, in my opinion. The run defense, I just don't know if it's ever really going to be his calling card. Does that matter if you're paying him $125 million or whatever, or $100 million? I think so. But at the end of the day, if he can continue to hit his ceiling as a pass rusher, if he gives the Commanders, 10 plus sacks for the next 4 years, is that worth it? And I think the answer to that question is mostly yes.
We're talking Odafe Oweh with Steven Haglund, co-host of the Guilty as Charged podcast, which is a very good Chargers podcast. Odafe Oweh not putting up major sack numbers until these last 2 regular seasons doesn't mean that he wasn't having success as a pass rusher prior to that. His pressure stats have been good for a while. I mean, I look at his 2023 regular season. Oweh in the 2023 regular season had just 5 sacks, but he, per Pro Football Focus, had 51 pressures and ranked tied for number 10 among all NFL edge defenders, each with at least 100 pass rushes, and PFF's pass rush win rate at 18.2%. What do you make of the statistical profile of Oweh?
Yeah, I think Brandon Thorne always does a really good job of charting like his true sack percentage, and are you getting a lot of gimme sacks? Are you getting a lot of cleanup sacks? And I think he's really the only one that goes out and does that. And I'm pretty sure I should have looked this up, but I'm pretty sure Odafe Oweh was pretty high in that regard. With the Chargers, the vast majority of his sacks were he created the pressure and he got home. And so because of that, I would argue that there still is a lot more upside for him as a pass rusher. Now, obviously, he's not going to be rushing with Khalil Mack and Tuli Tuipulotu in Washington, and hopefully, they have some good edge rushers around him. So he's going to be the primary point of attention for a lot of teams in most weeks, I would assume. But just given his versatility as a pass rusher, I think he can continue to hit those high sack numbers. Is it going to be 3 sacks in a playoff game? Maybe that's very, hit or miss. But I felt like watching his tape leading in his 2025 Ravens tape, I feel like he was so close, 4 or 5 times. And then he comes with the Chargers, and it was there in bunches. And Jesse Minter talked about that too, where some guys who the sack numbers are really fluky, it's because they're not truly winning as much. Whereas somebody like Oweh, who is winning a lot of his reps, the sack numbers will come in bunches, and we saw that, happening with the Chargers.
What do you think about the contract that Washington gave Odafe Oweh?
Yeah, if the Chargers gave him that, I would probably say massive overpay because they have Thule and Khalil Mack has kind of been on this, year-to-year thing, and he was always going to be more of a priority for the Chargers because of his leadership role and how much Jim Harbaugh loves Khalil Mack and stuff like that. So it was very difficult for the Chargers to justify paying him. But if you're the Commanders or any other team who was, interested in him, like we heard the Cowboys were interested in him, we heard the Panthers were until obviously they signed Jalen Phillips. But it's kind of just where the pass rusher market is. You look at guys like, and I was not going to say Montez Sweat, but Montez Sweat is a good example where the Bears paid him $24 million per year. Josh Sweat is the name I was looking for. The Cardinals pay him $19 million per year, and Odafe Oweh was a former first-round pick and very productive the last 2 years, and more productive than Josh Sweat has been. So it's kind of just the going rate for this guy can probably get us, double-digit sacks a year, and, is he worth $25 million per year or 24.5 or whatever that math is? Might be a little rich for me, but for me as a Chargers fan, I was hoping that they could get him for like 19 or 20 and that they could kind of just make the numbers work a little bit. So 24 and a half, 25, as an acquiring free agent team, I think that's about right, and obviously you're hoping that he continues to get sack production, but I don't think it's a massive overpay. I think if they had done, $30 million, that would be a massive overpay. But to me, 24, 25, I think is about right as an acquiring, free agent team for a pass rusher who could potentially give you 10, 11, 12 sacks.
The reason that the Chargers did not re-sign Odafe Oweh is what?
I think it's more so the financial implications of having 3 edge rushers because they're going to extend Tuli Tuipulotu at around that same kind of number. And Khalil Mack is at 18 per year, and again he's on a year-to-year basis. So you would have been paying your edge rusher room of Tuli, Oweh, and Mack for this upcoming season $60 million, $65 million, and I think that is tough to justify for a team like the Chargers who are a bit more calculated in how they approach free agency, and I think that's a frustrating part for us. We wanted them to be in the Tyler Linderbaum conversation, and instead of doing that, they get Tyler Biadasz for $10 million per year. So it kind of gives you an indication of where they're at as a franchise. They would rather take a smaller, more calculated risk, and I think they'll end up replacing Oweh in the draft this year in first round, second round kind of thing, and get a young guy in the pipeline. So if Thule were a year younger and he were heading into his 3rd year instead of his 4th year and was not extension eligible, I think Oweh would be back. But I think it's just the idea of this specific front office paying $60 to $65 million a year on an edge room is just probably not a tenable situation for them.
All right, Tyler Biadasz. Washington on March 3rd announced having released center Tyler Biadasz. The Chargers just 3 days later, March 6th, announced having signed him as an unrestricted free agent. They got him quickly. How needed was an upgrade at center for your team?
Dude, so needed. So needed. We would have taken almost any free agent center, and we would have been excited about it. Cade Mays, sign me up. Tyler Fortner, sign me up. Bradley Bozeman is a really good dude, but he was the worst center in the league in terms of pressures allowed and pressure percentage, and was just, they put a lot on his plate in terms of calling protections because they don't like Herbert doing that for whatever reason. And it was once or twice a week where he would slide protections the wrong way from where like an obvious blitz is coming, and Herbert just gets drilled. So it was a very frustrating season in that regard where the Chargers lost both tackles by week 6, and the backup tackles that came in were awful, and they were still playing better than Bradley Bozeman every single week, who's like a 10-year vet. So it was desperately needed, and we are very glad that they didn't get just some guy that Biadasz is maybe not an elite guy, but he can be an above average, solid, potentially good player. So we're excited for him for sure.
One more for you. The Chargers on January 26th announced the hiring of Mike McDaniel as offensive coordinator. He, off being fired as head coach of the Miami Dolphins on January 8th, came up as a potential candidate for Washington's offensive coordinator vacancy, given his deep ties to general manager Adam Peters and head coach Dan Quinn. However, it quickly became clear that McDaniel had options, many options, and Washington, just 2 days after McDaniel was fired, filled its offensive coordinator vacancy. The team on January 10th announced having promoted assistant quarterbacks coach David Blau to offensive coordinator. The dynamic between Mike McDaniel and Chargers head coach Jim Harbaugh from afar seems rather interesting. What do you make of that dynamic? How do you think that things will go?
Yeah, when they announced that they were interested, or not announced when they were interested, but when it was reported that they were interested in him, we were like, okay, like, great, like, check the box. He's the top candidate. Definitely interview him. But McDaniel's going to have other options. And we kind of expected him to, either get a head coaching job or go with one of his friends like Dan Quinn. That's kind of how the Shanahan tree has always seemed to work. They always go and back with their friends and things like that. So we were hoping it would happen, and then it did, and it was great. And then actually that episode after they hired him became our most viewed episode ever, which was great. The pairing is very interesting because Harbaugh has not been in this kind of schematic world ever in his career. It's always been the Greg Roman stuff. It's always been the let's play a defensive tackle at fullback and let's play, 6 offensive linemen and let's run the football. And he tried to do that with the Chargers and it just was not super successful. So I think this is him kind of realizing that maybe we have been kind of passed by from a schematic standpoint. And so let's go get somebody from the kind of schemes that's really working in the NFL. And they interviewed a bunch of guys with Shanahan or McVay roots, and they ended up with the best one. So we're all very, very happy about that, and very anxious to see what that means for Mr. Justin Herbert.
Steven Haglund, co-host of the Guilty as Charged podcast, a thriving Chargers podcast. Steve, thanks. All the best.
All right. Appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
All right, the Nace Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers, has been a Washington, D.C. institution for decades. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers, and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. Founded in 1979, the Nace Law Group offers fierce advocacy on behalf of medical malpractice, birth injury, and personal injury victims. Led by the great Chris Nace, the Nace Law Group is focused on providing exceptional care and counsel for those who need such things the most. The Nace Law Group fights for what it believes in: you, your family, and your future. You with the Nace Law Group have an experienced advocate on your side. The Nace Law Group has secured millions of dollars in verdict and settlement amounts for clients to better enable them to care for themselves and their families. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers. The Washington Capitals have just 8 games left in the NHL's 2025-2026 regular season. Time is running out for our team to make the 2026 Stanley Cup playoffs, but the Caps are playing well. They're now 6-2-2 over their last 10 games. One game over the weekend, a 5-4 shootout win at the Vegas Golden Knights late night on Saturday night in a game in which the Caps blew a 3-0 second period lead, but overcame a 4-3 third period deficit. The Caps for this regular season now are 37-28-9, good for 83 points, 5 points behind the Columbus Blue Jackets for the Eastern Conference's second of 2 wildcard spots, 5 points behind the Pittsburgh Penguins for third place in the Metropolitan Division as the top 3 teams in each division make the postseason. The Caps are not that far back of these postseason spots, but the Caps also are bunched in tight with a bunch of other teams. This, though, was a good win for the Caps late night on Saturday night. They won despite losing a key player. Top-line left wing Alexi Protas left the game due to an upper body injury. He played for just 6 minutes, 27 seconds as he and former Caps center Nick Dowd collided head-to-head in the first period. The Caps already were without another winger, Ethan Frank. He did not play for a third consecutive game due to a lower body injury that he suffered in the Caps' 3-2 overtime loss to the Colorado Avalanche at Capital One Arena on March 22nd. Also, the Caps went at the Golden Knights 5-4 in a shootout late night on Saturday night. Despite getting ripped in the puck possession battle, the Caps had just 21 shots on goal to the Golden Knights' 29, and per natural stat trick had just 35-on-5 shot attempts to the Golden Knights' 49, including just 5-on-5 high-danger shot attempts to the Golden Knights' 10. The Caps' 5-on-5 play has slipped significantly in recent weeks. Also, the Caps won at the Golden Knights 5-4 in a shootout late night on Saturday night, despite an embarrassment of a power play in the second period. The Caps inexplicably gave up 2 second-period shorthanded goals, and on the same power play, and this was the second time this month that the Caps gave up 2 second-period shorthanded goals in a game. The Caps in their 7-3 win over the Calgary Flames at Capital One Arena on March 9th inexcusably gave up 2 second-period shorthanded goals. But the Caps in that game did go 1 for 3 on the power play, and the Caps in this 5-4 shootout win at the Golden Knights late night on Saturday night went 2 for 6 on the power play. Caps third-line center Justin Sourdif, he scored a power play goal 1:55 into the second period, giving him 15 goals in this regular season. Also, he had a secondary assist for his 17th assist in this regular season. So a goal and an assist. Sourdif became just the 10th rookie in Caps history to have at least 9 multi-point games in a regular season, and the first since center Nicholas Backstrom had 15 multi-point games in the 2007-2008 regular season. Additionally, Sourdif had a game-high tying 4 shots on goal, and he was number 1 on the Caps in 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage for the game per natural stat trick at 64.71. The Caps, with Sourdif on the ice in 5-on-5 situations in the game, had 11 shot attempts versus allowing 6 shot attempts. A terrific game for Justin Sourdif, and a good game for another Caps center, top-line center Dylan Strome. He scored a power play goal 8:54 into the third period to tie the game at 4, giving him 17 goals in this regular season. Also, Strome scored the game-winning goal in the shootout as the Caps improved to just 2-6 in shootouts in this regular season. And Strome went 11-9 on faceoffs. Did commit a third-period high-sticking double minor penalty, but the Caps killed that penalty. The Caps went 3 for 4 on the penalty kill. Their starting goaltender was their number 1 goaltender, Logan Thompson. He stopped just 25 of the 29 shots on goal that he faced, but he, during the shootout, stopped all 3 of the shots on goal that he faced.
Pavel Dorofeev with a last chance for Vegas to extend. Number 16 for the Golden Knights crosses the Washington line. Down the middle, a shot in on Thompson, and a save, and that's it. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Vegas. The Capitals rally in the third and take down the Golden Knights in the shootout. Final score, Washington 5 and Vegas 4.
John Walton on the Washington Capitals radio network. Yeah, Logan Thompson came up big in the shootout. The great 8, Alex Ovechkin, he served as the Caps' top-line right wing, had a secondary assist for his 28th assist in this regular season, had 6 total shot attempts, though that included just 1 shot on goal. Your Caps' healthy scratches for this shootout win at the Golden Knights late night on Saturday night were forward David Kampf and 3 defensemen in Timothy Liljegren, Declan Chisholm, and Dylan McElrath. The Caps continued to get nothing from their 2 trade acquisitions from March 6th, what was 2026 NHL trade deadline day. Kampf did not play for an 11th time in 11 games since being acquired by the Caps. Liljegren was a healthy scratch for a 6th consecutive game, but the Caps won, yes, despite giving up those 2 second-period shorthanded goals and on the same power play. I still can't believe that happened. During Caps head coach Spencer Carberry's post-game session with reporters early Sunday morning, had this exchange between Caps insider Mike Vogel of WashingtonCaps.com and Carberry.
Can you imagine giving up a couple of short-handed goals on the same power play twice in less than 3 weeks?
What are you trying to do to me, folks?
Well, you won both the games.
Yeah, I know. If you would ask me that, if you give up 2 shorties in the same power play, Yeah, it's no doubt frustrating and things that we just have to get out of our game, and you can't shoot yourself in the foot like that if you expect to win consistently. But right now we're all hands on deck, and we're just going to try to find ways to get 2 points, no matter how it looks, no matter what the circumstances, no matter what the adversity. Lose a player to injury, pro goes down, whatever happens, the guys are going to dig in and do everything they possibly can to get 2 points, and they left it out on the ice tonight.
Yes, they did. Next up for the Caps, home to the Philadelphia Flyers, Tuesday night at 7. Well, the Washington Wizards now have just 8 games left in the NBA's 2025-2026 regular season, and the Wizards, in what we think just might be the final season of their tank, are doing very well regarding finishing with one of the 4 worst records in the NBA, and thus guaranteeing the Wizards keeping the reported top 8 protected pick in the perceived to be loaded 2026 NBA draft. In fact, the Wizards now are just a half game behind the Indiana Pacers for the worst record in the NBA. 2 games for the Wizards over the weekend, 2 more losses. Late night on Friday night, a 131-126 loss at the Golden State Warriors. Sunday evening, a 123-88 loss at the Portland Trail Blazers in a game in which the Wizards never held a lead. The Wizards in this regular season now are 17-57, second worst record in the NBA, half game behind the Pacers, who are an NBA worst 17-58. The Wizards lost at the Warriors late night on Friday night. A classic tank job. Wizards head coach Brian Keefe tanked this game in fine fashion. So the Wizards overcame a 16-point first quarter deficit, but blew a 5-point fourth quarter lead. The Wizards in the fourth quarter held a 5-point lead at 111-106, but then lost the rest of the game 25-15. Keefe did not play 4 of the Wizards' 5 starters at all in the fourth quarter. Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Sarr, Bub Carrington, and Trey Johnson. The only Wizard starter who played in the fourth quarter of this competitive game was Leaky Black. 4 Wizards players, Bub Carrington, Bilal Coulibaly, Will Riley, and Jaden Hardy, went a combined 15 for 24 on threes. So Bilal Coulibaly, he in just 19 minutes, 4 seconds as a starter, had 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists versus no turnovers. He went 4 for 9 on threes, 4 for 7 on twos, and 1 for 2 on free throws. Will Riley, he in 29-11 as a reserve, had 22 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists versus 1 turnover and 2 steals. He went 3 for 5 on threes, 5 for 7 on twos, and 3 for 3 on free throws. So the game's leading scorer was former Wizard Kristaps Porzingis. He had just 28-49 as a starter, had 28 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists versus no turnovers. He went 5 for 11 on threes, 4 for 6 on twos, and 5 for 7 on free throws. Still a lot of injuries/absences for the Wizards. Bub Carrington, he in the loss at the Blazers on Sunday evening, had to stop playing in the game due to muscle cramping. Tristan Vukcevic, he in the loss at the Blazers on Sunday evening, returned from a 2-game absence. He for the loss at the Warriors late night on Friday night was a DNP-CD, this off having not played in the Wizards' previous game due to lower back tightness. So the Wizards, for that loss at the Warriors late night on Friday night, got back Alex Sarr and Trey Johnson. Sarr returned from a 2-game absence caused by a left big toe injury. Johnson returned from a 3-game absence caused by a right foot sprain, but then neither guy played in the loss at the Blazers on Sunday evening. Sarr did not play due to left big toe injury management. Johnson did not play due to right foot sprain injury management. And then we have the rest of the bunch. Trae Young has not played in each of the last 7 games. So the Wizards on March 21st announced that Young, in the 125-117 loss to the Warriors at Capital One Arena on March 16th, re-injured his right quadriceps and also was dealing with lower back irritation. Keyshawn George has not played in each of the last 14 games, this due to a partial tear of the UCL in his left elbow. Anthony Davis has not played in any of the 25 games since being acquired by the Wizards via trade on February 5th, what was 2026 NBA NBA trade deadline day. He's not playing due to a finger sprain on his left hand. D'Angelo Russell has not played in any of the 25 games since being acquired by the Wizards via the Anthony Davis trade. Russell has been being listed as not being with the Wizards. He is not expected to ever play for the Wizards, and Cam Whitmore is done for the season due to right shoulder deep vein thrombosis. Next up for the Wizards is a game on Monday night. Wizards at the Los Angeles Lakers, Monday night at 10. So this past January 5th was the Monday after the end of the NFL's 2025 regular season. If you are a combo Washington Commanders, Washington Nationals fan, this past January 5th was not a happy day, given that the Commanders in the 2025 regular season went a horribly disappointing 5-12. But the Nats this past January 5th claimed outfielder Joey Wiemer off waivers from the San Francisco Giants. And Wiemer, in 2 games for the Nats so far in MLB's 2026 regular season, has been incredible. The Nats have begun their 2026 regular season by winning 2 out of 3 games at the Chicago Cubs. Thursday, a 10-4 win at the Cubs, as the Nats scored their most runs in an opening day game since the franchise moved to Washington, D.C. in the 2004-2005 offseason. Saturday afternoon, a 10-2 loss at the Cubs, but Sunday afternoon, a 6-3 win at the Cubs as the Nats won a regular season opening series for the first time since, believe it or not, 2018. Yes, the Nats have restarted a rebuild and are not expected to be good this season. But also, yes, the Nats, in now being in on analytics and sports science like never before, the Nats, in now having a proper process, have, at least to be, become so much more interesting and encouraging to watch as compared to these rebuilding seasons of 2022 through 2025 that led to nowhere. The Nats finally have a direction that you can believe in via this new process led by President of Baseball Operations Paul Taboni and General Manager Anirudh Kalambi and Manager Blake Butera. And one of the things that the Nats did in this series is strategically deploy Joey Wiemer against left-handed pitching. 6 of his 8 plate appearances in this series came against left-handed pitching, and he dominated when it came to the Nats' overall offense in winning 2 out of 3 games at the Cubs. So the offense was good in games 1 and 3, but bad in game 2. The 10-4 win at the Cubs on Thursday, the Nats scored 10 runs, totaled 11 hits, which were 3 home runs, a double, and 7 singles, worked 2 walks and a hit by pitch, and went 3 for 6 with runners in scoring position. The 10-2 loss at the Cubs on Saturday afternoon, the Nats scored just 2 runs and totaled just 4 hits, which were a home run and 3 singles. So the Nats did work 4 walks and did go 1 for 2 with runners in scoring position, as yes, the Nats had just 2 at-bats with runners in scoring position the entire game. No C.J. Abrams for the Nats on Saturday. He was not with the team for this game due to a death in his family. Abrams was back for Game 3, and the Nats in that game, the 6-3 win at the Cubs on Sunday afternoon, were good offensively, though Abrams, as the Nats starting shortstop and number 6 batter, went 0 for 3 with a hit by pitch and 2 strikeouts. But the Nats in this game, 6 runs, 11 hits, which were 2 home runs, a triple, 2 doubles, and 6 singles, 3 walks, and a hit by pitch. And the run total of 6 could have been even higher, as the Nats went just 2 for 10 with runners in scoring position. And yeah, this guy, Joey Wiemer, he played in just 2 of the 3 games in the series, but he got on base in every plate appearance that he had. The 10-4 win at the Cubs on Thursday, Wiemer, as the Nats starting right fielder and number 5 batter, went 3 for 3 with a solo homer, 2 singles, and a walk. Also, he got credited with an outfield assist. The 6-3 win at the Cubs on Sunday afternoon, Wiemer, as the Nats starting right fielder and number 5 batter, went 3 for 3 with a 3-run homer, a triple, a single, and a walk. Wiemer, in the Nats' 3-run first, had a 2-out 3-run homer to left field for a 3-0 Nats lead. Wiemer, in the top of the 4th, had a leadoff first pitch opposite field triple to the right center field gap. Wiemer, in the Nats' 1-run 6, drew an 8-pitch walk, marking him getting on base in each of his first 7 regular season plate appearances with the team. became a new Montreal Expos / Washington Nationals franchise record, and Wiemer then got on base again. He and the Nats' 2-run eighth had a leadoff single through the left side of the infield despite having been down in the count at 1.02. What a performance by Joey Wiemer in this series. Way too early to say whether the Nats' new process has found the team a true diamond in the rough in this guy, but so far, so good. Here was Blake Butera during his postgame session with reporters on Sunday evening on Joey Wiemer, and then you'll hear a follow-up exchange between Nats insider Jessica Camerato of Nationals.com and Butera.
Just fired up for Joey. He's ready anytime his name gets called. He knows his role right now, and whenever his name's called, he's taking full advantage of it, and he's capitalizing on all these opportunities. He brings a ton of energy. He plays great defense, and what he's doing at the plate right now is pretty remarkable.
What does he do that allows him to get on base in different ways?
I mean, I think he's done a little bit of everything so far, right? Like when they've thrown pitches in the zone, he's hammered them, home runs, triples, whatever it might be. When he's out of the zone, he's laying off of them and he's walking. He's just getting on base. I mean, every time. And and then when it's in the zone, he's hitting it hard.
Yes, he does. And also homering for the Nats in this 6-3 win at the Cubs on Sunday afternoon was Keibert Ruiz. He is the Nats starting catcher and number 8 batter, went 1 for 3 with a 2-run homer and an RBI sac fly. Ruiz in the Nats' 2-run 8th had a 2-out 2-run homer to left field for a 6-2 Nats lead. This was his first home run since the Nats' second game of the 2025 regular season. Yeah, that's what kind of a 2025 regular season that Keibert Ruiz ended up having, but good for him for homering on Sunday afternoon. Homering in the 10-2 loss at the Cubs on Saturday afternoon was James Wood. Now, he did not do well in games 1 and 3 of this series, but Wood on Saturday afternoon as the Nats starting right fielder and number 1 batter went 1 for 4 with a solo homer. Wood in the Nats' 1-run 4th had a leadoff opposite field homer to left field on an 0-2 pitch to cut the Nats deficit to 4-1. And also standing out in that 10-2 loss at the Cubs on Saturday afternoon was Nasim Nunez. He is the Nats starting shortstop and number 7 batter, went 1 for 3 with an RBI single, a fielding error, and a sensational defensive play. Nunez in the Nats' 1-run 5th had a 1-out RBI single into center field on a 1-2 pitch to cut the Nats deficit to 5-2. And Nunez in the bottom of the 7th made a spectacular defensive play for a 1-pitch ground out by Michael Busch for the second out. Nunez, deep in the hole, made a diving backhanded catch of an opposite field grounder by Busch, landed in shallow left field, and then, and this is the best part, while falling back down, fired a no-hop throw to first baseman Luis Garcia Jr. for the putout. An outstanding play by Nasim Nunez, who is so good defensively. The Nats won 2 out of 3 games at the Cubs, despite the starting pitching being good in just 1 of the 3 games. So the 10-4 win at the Cubs on Thursday, Cade Cavalli allowed 3 runs, 2 earned in 3 2/3 innings. The 10-2 loss at the Cubs on Saturday afternoon, Miles Mikolas allowed 6 runs, 4 earned in 5 innings. He gave up 6 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 4 singles. He issued 3 walks, each of which was costly. He recorded 4 strikeouts. He threw 97 pitches, 57 strikes versus 40 balls. So Mikolas in the bottom of the 2nd allowed 4 runs, 2 earned on 2 walks, 2 hard luck singles, an RBI sac fly, and a 2-out fielding error by shortstop Nasim Nunez, who with runners at the corners, 2 outs, and the Nats down 2-0, got charged with a fielding error off colliding with left fielder Dalen Lyle in shallow left field on a fly ball by the Cubs' number 1 batter Michael Busch. Nunez, as he drifted back, collided with Lyle as he was coming in toward the infield. That was a bad news Bears type moment for sure. So some bad luck from Mikolas in that inning, but Mikolas in a Cubs 1-run 4th gave up a 2-out solo homer by the Cubs' number 9 batter Miguel Amaya to left center field for a 5-1 Cubs lead, and Mikolas in a Cubs 1-run 5th issued a 1-out walk of Pete Crow Armstrong and gave up a 1-out RBI double by Nico Horner to deep left field for a 6-2 Cubs lead. This is Miles Mikolas' age 37 season. The Nats on February 11th announced having signed Mikolas as a free agent to a 1-year contract. The contract is a 1-year contract reportedly worth $2.25 million. So he spent the previous 8 seasons with the St. Louis Cardinals, but he struggled over the last 3 6-3 regular seasons, 2023 through 2025, ERA of 4.98, ERA plus of just 85. Has been a workhorse, so he has started at least 31 games in each of the last 4 regular seasons. In the 6-3 win at the Cubs on Sunday afternoon, Jake Irvin allowed 2 runs in 5 innings with 7 strikeouts versus 1 walk. Good to see Irvin do well. He gave up 3 hits, which were 2 home runs and a single. He threw 93 pitches, 58 strikes versus 35 balls. Both of the runs that Irvin allowed came in the bottom of the 4th, which he began by giving up back-to-back solo homers by Alex Bregman and Ian Happ. Jake Irvin is coming off a horrendous season. In the 2025 regular season, over 33 starts, had an ERA of 5.70, which was the worst ERA among all qualified pitchers in MLB. And in the 2025 regular season, gave up an MLB worst 38 home runs and gave up an MLB worst 114 earned runs. So happy for him for pitching well on Sunday afternoon and for pitching well at a team that's expected to be good in the Cubs. This season is Irvin's age 29 season. The Nats took him in the 4th round of the 2018 MLB first-year player draft out of the University of Oklahoma. The Nats relief pitching in the team winning 2 out of 3 games at the Cubs. Good in games 1 and 3, bad in game 2. But in game 3 had something especially encouraging. The 10-4 win at the Cubs on Thursday. 4 Nats relievers combined to allow 1 run in 5 1/3 innings. The 10-2 loss at the Cubs on Saturday afternoon. 3 Nats relievers combined to allow 4 runs in 3 innings, though only 2 of the relievers struggled. Andre Granillo officially allowed 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. He had a Cubs 4-run 6, faced 4 batters and got 2 outs. Ken Waldachuk officially allowed 2 runs in 1 1/3 innings, but he on the first pitch that he threw gave up a 2-out first pitch, 3-run homer by Ian Happ to left field for a 9-2 Cubs lead in the bottom of the 6th. Also, Waldachuk in the Cubs 4-run 6 issued 2 walks, including a 2-out bases-loaded walk of pinch hitter Carson Kelly for a 10-2 Cubs lead. Waldachuk did then toss a perfect bottom of the 7th with 2 strikeouts, and Cole Henry looked good. He tossed a perfect bottom of the 8th in facing the Cubs numbers 3 through 5 batters in Ian Happ, Pete Crow Armstrong, and Nico Horner. And the 6-3 win at the Cubs on Sunday afternoon, 4 Nats relievers combined to allow 1 run in 4 innings. P.J. Poulin in the bottom of the 6th faced 3 batters and got 2 outs. Gus Varland tossed 1 1/3 perfect innings. Ciano Perez allowed 1 run in 1 inning. He in the bottom of the 8th gave up a 1-out opposite field solo homer by Alex Bregman to right field to cut the Nats lead to 6-3. But interesting to see Perez used in this game in the bottom of the 8th off him having closed out the Nats win on Thursday. But this was Blake Butera doing what I've been preaching for years and doing what, in fairness, the Nats' previous manager, Davey Martinez, did do at times, not being a slave to the save. Butera had Perez, who would seem to be the Nats' ace reliever, at least for now, pitch in this bottom of the 8th due to it featuring the Cubs numbers 1 through 3 batters. Perez in that Nats win on Thursday tossed a perfect bottom of the 9th with 2 swinging strikeouts despite facing the Cubs numbers 2 through 4 batters. So Blake Butera with the Nats now as an analytically inclined team, deploying the ace reliever in high leverage spots. I love it. And Clayton Beeter, who did not look good in that opening day win at the Cubs, did look good on Sunday afternoon. He tossed a perfect bottom of the 9th for the save. Next up for the Nats is a 3-game series at the Philadelphia Phillies. Game 1 Monday evening at 6:40. Foster Griffin will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 2 Tuesday evening at 6:40. The Nats starting pitcher is to be announced. Game 3 Wednesday afternoon at 1:05. Cade Cavalli will be the Nats starting pitcher. The Baltimore Orioles were staring at what would have been a really disappointing regular season opening 3-game series against the Minnesota Twins at Oriole Park at Camden Yards, but the O's ended up winning 2 out of 3 games in the series. Thursday, a 2-1 win over the Twins. Saturday, a 4-1 loss to the Twins, but Sunday afternoon, an 8-6 win over the Twins in a game in which the O's overcame a 4-0 fourth-inning deficit, and in a game in which the Orioles offense came alive. The 2-1 win over the Twins on Thursday. The Orioles offense, not good. Just 2 runs, just 5 hits, which were a double and 4 singles, 3 walks, 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position. The 4-1 loss to the Twins on Saturday. The Orioles offense, not good. Just 1 run, just 5 hits, which were a double and 4 singles, 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position, a whopping 16 strikeouts, though the O's did draw 6 walks. But the 8-6 win over the Twins on Sunday afternoon, the Orioles offense was great. 8 runs, 12 hits, which were a home run, 3 doubles, and 8 singles, 5 walks, 5 for 8 with runners in scoring position. Tyler O'Neill, he is the Orioles starting right fielder and number 6 batter, went 1 for 3 with a 3-run homer and a walk. Also, he had an outfield assist, but O'Neill in the Orioles' 3-run fourth had a 1-out 3-run homer to left field to cut the Orioles' deficit to 4-3. Dylan Beavers, he is the Orioles starting center fielder and number 8 batter, went 1 for 4 with a 2-run double. Also, he had an outfield assist, but Beavers in the Orioles' 2-run sixth had a 2-out 2-run double to right field on a 1-2 pitch for a 5-4 Orioles lead. And Adley Rutschman, he in the Orioles' 3-run seventh, had a pinch first pitch RBI double off the center field wall for a 7-5 Orioles lead. Good to see the offense wake up in time for that game on Sunday afternoon. The O's won 2 out of 3 games against the Twins at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Despite the starting pitching only being good in one game, that was game 1, the 2-1 win over the Twins on Thursday. Trevor Rogers, really good, 7 scoreless innings, 5 strikeouts. But the 4-1 loss to the Twins on Saturday, Kyle Bradish allowed 3 runs, 2 earned in 4 2/3 innings. He gave up just 2 hits, which were a home run and a single, and he recorded 4 strikeouts, but he issued 3 walks, and he threw a lot of pitches as he, over his 4 2/3 innings, threw 83 pitches, 50 strikes versus 33 balls. Big expectations for Kyle Bradish this season, what is his age 29 season. He's under team control through the 2028 season. Underwent Tommy John surgery in June 2024, but he at the major league level last regular season was really good, albeit in a small sample, but 6 games, all starts, ERA at 2.53, ERA plus of 160, whip of 1.03, strikeouts per 9 innings of 13.22, wins above replacement per Baseball Reference of 1.2, and Bradish in his last full major league season was great. Kyle Bradish for the 2023 regular season was number 4 among all qualified pitchers in the majors at ERA at 2.83, and was number 5 among all pitchers in the majors in WAR per Baseball Reference at 4.8. In the 8-6 win over the Twins on Sunday afternoon, Shane Baz allowed 4 runs in 5 1/3 innings. He gave up 7 hits, which were 4 doubles and 3 singles. He issued a hit by pitch. He did have 4 strikeouts versus no walks, and he did throw a lot of strikes as he, over 78 pitches, threw 53 strikes versus just 25 balls. One of the doubles that Baz gave up was a leadoff double by former Washington Nationals first baseman / left fielder Josh Bell to begin the top of the 4th on a routine fly ball that center fielder Dylan Beavers lost in the sun. But Baz in the top of the 2nd allowed 4 runs, including giving up a 2-out, bases-loaded 3-run double by Tristan Gray to right center field for a 4-0 Twins lead. Also, with Shane Baz over the weekend was big news. The O's on Friday evening announced having agreed with Baz on a 5-year contract for the 2026 through 2030 season. Some more on that shortly. But the O's won 2 out of 3 games against the Twins at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Despite the relief pitching being so-so, the 2-1 win over the Twins on Thursday, 2 Orioles relievers combined to allow 1 run in 2 innings. The 4-1 loss to the Twins on Saturday, 4 Orioles relievers combined to allow 1 run in 4 1/3 innings. And the 8-6 win over the Twins on Sunday afternoon, 6 Orioles relievers combined to allow 2 runs in 3 2/3 innings. But the O's in this series got some big relief performances. That 4-1 loss to the Twins on Saturday, Anthony Nunez tossed 2 perfect innings with 3 swinging strikeouts. Really good work. The O's got Nunez as part of the trade package from the New York Mets for outfielder Cedric Mullins in a deal that went down this past July 31st, what was 2025 MLB trade deadline day. The 8-6 win over the Twins on Sunday afternoon, Yennier Cano faced 1 batter and got 1 out, but it was a huge out. Cano came into the game in the top of the 8th with the bases loaded, 2 outs, and the O's clinging to an 8-6 lead, and he generated a 9-pitch swinging strikeout of the Twins' number 2 batter, Byron Buxton. Also, Ryan Helsley, he tossed a scoreless top of the 9th for the save, despite giving up a single and despite shortstop Gunnar Henderson committing a fielding error. But maybe the most significant item with the O's over the last 3 days was the team on Friday evening announcing having agreed with Shane Baz on a 5-year contract for the 2026 through 2030 season. So Baz had been under team control through the 2028 season. This season is his age 27 season. The O's this past December 19th announced having traded 4 prospects and a draft pick to the Tampa Bay Rays for Boz. The O's gave up a lot for Boz, and now they are paying Boz. The contract is a 5-year contract, reportedly worth $68 million, marking the most money in a contract given by the team to a pitcher in franchise history, as the O's under controlling owner David Rubenstein continued to spend. MLB owners on March 27th, 2024, one day before 2024 opening day, unanimously approved the sale of the Orioles from the Angelos family to a group led by private equity billionaire David Rubenstein. Also prominent in the group is private equity billionaire Mike McDaniel. There had been complaints that Rubenstein was not spending enough on players. Those complaints now look ridiculous. 3 of the 6 largest contracts in Orioles franchise history have been signed over the last 8 months. So the O's this past August 22nd announced having signed catcher/first baseman Samuel Basallo to a contract extension, which reportedly was an 8-year, $67 million contract extension. And the O's signed him to this extension just 5 days after the team on August 17th announced having selected his contract from AAA Norfolk. The O's this past December 11th announced having agreed with free agent first baseman Pete Alonso on a 5-year contract, reportedly worth $155 million. And now we have this Shane Baz 5-year contract extension, reportedly worth $68 million. And the O's did this extension before he made a single regular season start for them. Orioles president of baseball operations and general manager Mike Elias rather forward-thinking in doing these extensions with Samuel Basallo and Shane Baz so early in their tenures with the O's. But I love the aggression, and I love that the O's have ownership that is truly willing to spend. We can only hope that the Nats are at that point sometime soon. But the O's on Saturday afternoon did a press conference for Baz for signing this contract extension. Speaking at the presser were 3 people: David Rubenstein, Mike Elias, and Shane Baz. So we, during the presser, had this exchange between Orioles insider Rich Dubroff of BaltimoreBaseball.com, David Rubenstein, and Mike Elias.
Rich Dubroff from BaltimoreBaseball.com. This is for both David and Mike. Mike, you've talked about David's help and the new ownership group's help a number of times. Are they also providing input, or is it just basically resources? And to David, what specific things have you done to help Mike here in keeping players and acquiring players?
Well, I wouldn't say that I've probably done anything to help him, really. What we've told Mike is he's the expert in baseball talent, and he's got a lot more experience than Mike Arrighetti or I do. So we will be willing to back him financially to whatever he thinks makes sense. And so we've done that. I don't think we've turned down any of his requests. And we're open for business. And, Mike has a great reputation in knowing how to assess talent. And so we're very happy with this. When he told me this was possible, we encouraged him to move forward and get it done. And we're very happy with it. So we hope it's a sign to people that we're very serious about making this a long-term proposition for the ownership group and for the team. And we want to do as much as we can to make this team a championship team and make Baltimore proud of the team we've put on the field.
Yeah, I would characterize this ownership group. They're very serious about. They believe in this franchise, in this city, in this market, and doing everything that they can to elevate the franchise. And so, we've been bold in free agency and with contracts, but also, a tremendous amount of infrastructure investment, as I said earlier, behind the scenes. So it's been really invigorating having that, and they're extremely helpful.
Yeah, and Mike has been very helpful. He's letting his hair get to be the same color as mine. If you notice, when hair was a little darker when I first joined, but now it's getting close to mine, right?
Mike Elias is just 43, does have mostly gray hair. David Rubenstein is 76. You know, there is risk in this Shane Baz extension. Let's make that clear. I mean, he is far from a truly proven MLB starting pitcher. Baz underwent Tommy John surgery on his right elbow in September 2022. He, in the 2025 regular season, pitched in 31 games, all starts, totaled 166 and the third innings. His ERA was 4.87, but a lot of that was the Rays in the 2025 regular season playing their home games at George M. Steinbrenner Field at the New York Yankees spring training facility in Tampa, as the Rays home ballpark, Tropicana Field, was unavailable due to extensive damage caused by Hurricane Milton. Baz in the 2025 regular season, over 16 starts at home, had an ERA of 5.90, but Baz in the 2025 regular season, over 15 starts on the road, had an ERA of 3.86. Also, Baz for the 2025 regular season was one of just 8 qualified MLB pitchers who ranked in the top 20 in both strikeout rate and ground ball rate. And if he delivers on his talent and process stats, then this contract extension will prove to be an absolute bargain. Next up for the O's is a 3-game series against the Texas Rangers at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Game 1, Monday evening at 6:35. Chris Bassett will be the Orioles starting pitcher. Game 2, Tuesday evening at 6:35. Zach Eflin will be the Orioles starting pitcher. Game 3, Wednesday afternoon at 12:35. Trevor Rogers will be the Orioles starting pitcher. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Tuesday show, episode 1292. We'll have plenty for you on the Washington Commanders. Also on Tuesday's show, I'll talk Washington Wizards, Washington Nationals, and Baltimore Orioles. The Wizards are at the Los Angeles Lakers Monday night at 10. The Nats are at the Philadelphia Phillies Monday evening at 6:40 for game 1 of a 3-game series. The O's are home to the Texas Rangers Monday evening at 6:35 for game 1 of a 3-game series. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll talk to you on Tuesday.
Can you imagine giving up a couple of short-handed goals on the same power play twice in less than 3 weeks?
What are you trying to do to me, folks?
Well, you won both the games.
Yeah.